This presentation is South Korea by Michael and Carolyn. As you can see, South Korea is the southern tip of the Korean peninsula, and a little to the south of Korea is Japan. Brief history of the language. Evidence suggests that Korean and Japanese belong to the Altaic language family, which also includes Turkish and Mongolian. Chinese, although it belongs to completely different language family, influenced Korean greatly. The modern Korean writing system, Hangul, was devised in 1443 during the reign of King Sejong, perhaps the greatest monarch of the Yi dynasty between 1392 and 1910. Modern Korean still reflects Chinese deep influence over centuries. Roughly half of the Korean vocabulary consists of words derived from Chinese, mainly through the Confucian classics. It's a high context language. Koreans won't commonly correct you nor explain things to you because you are assumed to know what everybody else knows. Since Koreans think that they are close to each other in terms of what they have experienced or can share, they're reluctant to jot down what does or does not have to be done. Essentially, they don't speak a lot of words. They expect you to know what they're talking about. Regional differences. The first noticeable difference is that in South Korea, the formal name of the language is spoken by residents of Hangul, while North Koreans call their version of Kasono. One detail to note is that the language used in South Korea is based mostly on Seoul dialect, and people in this area tend to use the words borrowed from the English language. By contrast, North Korean leaders have urged residents to keep borrowed words out of the Korean language and adhere primarily to the Pyongyang dialect. When North Koreans do, on occasion, incorporate the languages, they prefer to borrow from Russian. Cultural norms and communication. South Koreans prefer to do business with people whom they have personal connection with, since there's a tendency to say yes to questions so that you don't lose face. The way that you phrase the question is crucial. It's better to ask, when can we expect the shipment, than can we expect the shipment in 3 weeks, since this question requires a direct response. South Koreans are extremely direct communicators. They are not adverse to asking questions if they do not understand. Wait to be introduced at a social gathering, and when you leave a social gathering, say goodbye and bow to each person individually. The alphabet and the script. The Korean alphabet was invented in 1444 and promulgated in 1446 during the reign of King Sejong. In the fourth king of Joseon dynasty, the alphabet was originally called Hinhim Jingom, but was also been known as Anim, vulgar script, and Gukmun, the national writing. The modern name for the alphabet, Hangul, was coined by a Korean linguist called Ju Si Jong, 1876 to 1914. The Korean alphabet was associated with the people of low status, i.e. women, children that are uneducated. During the 19th and 20th centuries, a mixed writing combining Chinese characters and Hangul became increasingly popular. Direction of the writing is usually from right to left in vertical columns until the 1980s, and since then writing from left to right in horizontal lines has become popular, and today the majority of the texts are written horizontally. Number of letters, 24, and 24 consonants and 10 vowels are the letters combined each other. Am I able to say hello, good morning, afternoon, and good evening? Annyeong hasuyo. Good night. Annyeong shupsiyo. Goodbye, please stay well, as I am when I am leaving. Annyeong hi jasu. Goodbye, please go well when I'm staying. Annyeong hi gasuyo. Yes, ni. Thank you. Gamsa hamnida. Sorry. Wusong hamnida. Happy to meet you. Manasu. Bang Yep, not going to happen. Major language, verbal and nonverbal. Eye contact between people of different gender and social status are lack in Korean. Small talk may be viewed as pointless. Facial expressions are not commonly used. Smiling and joking is traditionally only acceptable at certain times. During meetings, Koreans always pass or receive documents. When Korean businessmen meet the opposite party, they will shake hands with them after a bow. Spitting and blowing snot in public are also acceptable gestures, as these behaviors are seen as cleaning yourself. Major language do's and taboos. Don't break their laws. Don't criticize Korean way of life, culture, and food. Don't ever make fun of anything Korean. Don't bring out of the country a big amount of money or even ginseng. Don't engage in any sideline businesses. Don't, when talking to another person, don't point your finger or a hand towards him or her. It is considered impolite. Don't call people's attention by shouting hey or psst, as it is practiced in some country or maybe even in your own. That's rude. The Hofstede value dimension looks like power distance is 60, individualism is 18, masculinity is 39, uncertainty avoidance is 85, long-term orientation is at a whopping 100, and indulgence is at 29. Power distance score of 60, which means South Korea is slightly hierarchical. Individualism scores 18, so they are very collective. Masculinity score of 39 is very low, thus they considered feminine society. Uncertainty avoidance is 95 or 85. South Korea is one of the most uncertainty avoiding countries in the world. Countries exhibiting this high uncertainty avoidance maintain rigid codes of belief and behavior. Long-term orientation score of 100. South Korea scores as one of the most pragmatic, long-term oriented societies. Notion of the one and only Almighty God is not familiar to South Koreans. Indulgence score of 29. South Korea's society is shown to be one of restraint. Societies with low score in this dimension have a tendency to cynicism and pessimism. Also, in contrast to indulgent societies, restrained societies do not put much emphasis on leisure time. Would it be difficult for a person who speaks only English to travel and work to Korean? How one relates to one another. As it is apparent in Korean language itself, people relate to one another positional in Korean culture. American culture lends itself to more egalitarian than others. Food. Even though pizza and hamburgers are making more Koreans fat like Americans, kimchi and other traditional Korean side dishes are still very popular. Hellish study schedule. Unlike the accommodative American English or education systems, students are required to survive the Korean education system. Students typically wake up early in the morning to go to school and they come out in school in the evening and attend their after-school private schools in Korea. Casual calling each other by title. Unlike American, people don't usually call each other by first names unless they're very close. Rule of the law. This isn't to say Koreans are in the habit of breaking laws, but the culture tends to be much more accommodative, preferring relationships or convenience over strict rules. Pace of life. Standard deliveries take 1 or 2 weeks in the U.S. Standard deliveries in Korea take less than 12 hours. Some other important aspects of the language. Koreans believe that the things that set them up most apart from other Asian cultures is their cuisine. One of the most noticeable characteristics of Korean is that Koreans use the word our a lot more than my. Going back to the collective society, Korean possesses several different expressions for the same word. You have to choose the appropriate word according to the person whom you're speaking to. For example, you can say nayi, age, or bab, meal, to your friend, but you should say yinsai, age, and jinjei, meal, if you are speaking to your grandfather. In Korea, say that most frequently heard Korean expression is bali bali, quickly. Korean language also reflects the aspect of culture. Many Korean expressions are said without me mentioning the subject. 감사합니다.